Hi everybody, this is Justina with JustynaTHandMade. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to adapt the Let's Play Drawstring Backpack pattern to create this cute tote bag. Like I said, this pattern was initially created to sew up the Drawstring Let's Play backpack, but it's versatile, and with just minor changes you can adapt it to this tote bag. All the cuts in the pattern are cut exactly the same. It's just the way we put it together, it's a tiny bit different. So instead of ending up with the drawstring backpack, we're gonna create a tote bag. Since we are approaching Halloween, I wanted to create something that is season appropriate. So I decided to feature one of the fabric designs I created and that are available on spoonflower.com, and I created this little ghost and pumpkin tote bag. If you want to grab a piece of this fabric to do exactly the same, I will post a link to my Spoonflower profile, and you can grab a fat quarter of that fabric. That's totally enough. Just make sure you are buying the large scale of the fabric, because there's an option with a smaller scale. So if that's something you like, you would just have most of this cute ghost motif on your front panel. A little bit about this bag. This bag features a vinyl base, 2-panel front of the bag, which has a nice large pocket, so you can store your cell phone, your keys, whatever you want to have a quick access to, but it has a zipper so it stays nice and secure. On the back we have a nice large zipper pocket as well, so I actually like to carry my cell phone in the back pocket, so if it buzzes I can feel it because it's close to my back. So that's why I like to put a packet on the back of my bags and purses. So you have two packets on the outside. On the inside we just have a quick plain lining. If you like to, you can add a packet or two. It depends on how you like your bags. I tend to not to use the inside pockets of my bags because I use my purse organizer that helps me just switch my purses really quickly. For this bag I use the cotton woven fabric, which I interface with Sewfuse Plus, and waterproof canvas that it's not interfaced, a small piece of marine vinyl, and that's about it. Also I added those pre-made leather-like handles that you can buy on Amazon, or you can just use any other material to create your handles, like webbing tape, or you can sew them up from the marine vinyl if that's something you want to do. Other than that, you don't need much supplies. You can play with how you want to feature any print on the front pocket and create yourself this cute tote bag following this video for the pattern. If you are already a subscriber to my channel, thank you so much for taking the time to watch another of my videos. If you like it, please make sure to give the video a thumbs up. If you have any friends that you think would enjoy my channel, share the video or share my channel and spread the news so more people can benefit of my sewing tutorials. If you want to grab a copy of this pattern, follow the link in the description. And if you want to grab a piece of this fabric or any other fabric designs I have in my Spoonflower store, just follow the link posted there as well. If you do create any item out of my patterns, the free ones or the one that needs to be purchased, please make sure to share them with me. You can tag me on Instagram, or you can make a post in our Facebook group. I would love to see your creations. And now if you want to see how this cute tote bag comes together, please keep watching. To get us ready to start our project, we're gonna prep all our pattern pieces and our supplies. I have a set of tote bag handles. I just did a fake stitch in the holes. I'm gonna attach them with rivets, but I just didn't want to leave the holes empty, so I just did a little embellishment orange stitch because it's gonna match my coloring of my bag. So I got these on Amazon. You can just get yourself a pair, or you can make your own handles with webbing tape or with vinyl fabric of your choice. Then I prepped my zipper overlay for the back pocket. I have my 2 zippers cut. If you don't feel comfortable with attaching your zipper pull on your zipper, you can make the zippers a little longer, then it's gonna make it easier to insert your zipper pull. Just make sure you're gonna note how long those 2 zippers supposed to be, so then you're gonna make the correct measurements on your pattern pieces. So I have my 2 zipper cuts. Those are zipper number 5. I have my lining for my front pocket. I have my 2-piece lining for my back outer pocket. I have my panel prepped for my front left side of my bag. This is the fabric I designed, and I interface it with the Sew Fuse Plus to give it a little more stability, as it is a cotton woven material. This is the panel on the left, on the front outer of my bag. This is the panel for the back outer, the upper back outer. My 2 vinyl pieces for the base of the bag. This is 2 bottom outer panels, and I have my 2 lining panels. I'm not going to be adding any pockets. I just like to use my purse organizer because it makes it really easy to switch my bags when I do that. Since we are bag makers, we probably like to use different bags for different outfits. So I just pull my bag organizer out, put it back in my new bag, and I'm good to go. I don't have to be going through all the little pockets and crannies to retrieve all of my items. So of course, on top of the fabrics, I have my 2 zipper pulls, and I have my rivets that I'm gonna be using to attach my back handles. As always, I'm going to be using Gutenberg Mera 70 thread. I would recommend you use any thread that can be melted. That's always easier to finish up the ends of your thread, so you can just melt them with some heat. So now that we have everything ready, and everything, although this is adaptation of the original Drawstring Backpack, all the cuts are exactly the same, so you don't have to be editing any cuts. We're just gonna put the project together a little differently. So let's put everything to the side. And we're gonna start our work with attaching the zipper to our front panel. So you want to make sure you have it the right way up. I'm using not really a directional fabric, but I want my main motif to be the right side up, so I'm just paying attention to that. And I'm gonna take the shorter zipper tape cut and measuring 3/4 of an inch from this corner. I'm gonna draw a line to mark the placement of my zipper. So I want the line to be about an inch shorter than the zipper, because I'm not gonna be sewing the whole length of the zipper, I need a little bit of the zipper to be left, to have a little end to be then sewn in with a nice finish. So take your panel and measure 3/4 of an inch. I'm measuring 7 inches, so I have about an inch of the zipper left to install my zipper. Now that I have the line drawn, I'm gonna flip my panel. I'm gonna use some double-sided tape. I'm gonna place it along the edge of the zipper tape. And I'm gonna now place my zipper tape along the line I just drew, making sure I'm placing the zipper on the bottom edge of my accent panel. And when that's done, we can mark an inch from the top of the zipper. I'm just eyeballing it, it doesn't have to be exact. And now that we have our panel prep like this, we're gonna take it to the machine and we're gonna sew along the zipper edge with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. You can use 2.5 or 3.5 stitch length, whatever works best for you. And just make sure to backstitch on the beginning and on the end of your seam. So take your project to the machine, sew the zipper on with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now that we have the zipper sewn in, we're gonna take our lining, the one that it's cut in a one long piece, and we're gonna place it along the top edge and clip. So you want the right sides of the fabrics to be facing each other. You want the panel to align with the bottom edge of your panel and the side where the zipper is sewn in. And now when you have that ready, you're gonna take your project to the machine and sewing from the wrong side of your outer panel, you're gonna follow the exact same seam line. So you're gonna start and sew down following the already existing seam line to attach your lining, and again backstitch on the beginning and on the end of your seam. Now that our lining is attached, we're gonna work on placing it the right way up. So you're gonna take your project and you're gonna make a cut that runs about 3/4 of an inch inside of your seam, and you're gonna cut it right up to the stitch. When you have that done, you're gonna flip your project. I'm gonna remove the little piece of the double-sided tape. You're gonna place your project, finger press the zipper in the correct upwards position, and then you're gonna fold your fabric at the point of the first stitch and clip it in place. Do the same thing with the lining. So you are folding the lining, so the little triangle, the right side of the fabric, and it's facing the zipper tape, and the little triangle is facing the short end of your zipper. So when you have that done, you're gonna take the project back to the machine and you're gonna sew from the exact point of the fold where the triangle tip is up to the end of your zipper tape. So you want to make sure that you are sewing exactly at the place where the tip is, where you have your fold. Don't sew on the fabric. You want to have that stitch exactly at this point and sew up to the edge of your zipper tape to create the close end of your zipper. After the little corner is sewn, you're gonna open your project. You want to make sure that the lining is nicely pressed behind and that your front is nicely finger pressed, or you can take it to the ironing board if you like, if you are using a fabric that can be pressed with the iron. And now that we have this layout set, we're gonna take our project back to the machine and we're gonna top stitch along those two edges with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that our zipper is top stitched, you can take your lining, you can bring it up to the edge of the zipper and you can take it to the machine and baste it in place. But if you are comfortable enough that you don't feel like you have to baste that in place, you can now attach the side panel of the back. So we have our lining placed behind, aligning with our edge with the zipper. Now we're gonna take our side panel and making sure they are together with the outer fabrics and they are right sides together. You're gonna align it with the edge and you're gonna clip here all three edges, the zipper tape and the lining, and continue clipping to the top. When you have that clipped, you can check if everything looks good on the other side. Want to pull that in a little bit. So now that you have everything clipped together, you're gonna take your project back to the machine and you're gonna sew along this edge with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, and back stitch on the beginning and on the end of your seam. Now that we have our side panel connected, we're gonna finger press it upwards. And when you have that finger pressed, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the seam on the waterproof canvas side with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that I have my side panel top stitched, now I can finish up my packet. So first I'm gonna clip the edge, the top edge of my packet, because this is exactly how the panel is, the right side up. And I'm gonna take the project to the machine and I'm gonna sew my packet close from the top to the edge. You can pull the fabric out of the way and just sew as high as the fabric will allow you. You don't want to sew on any other fabric, just the lining and the zipper. So you're gonna sew that with the 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. When that's done, you're gonna bring the packet nice and flat, and then you're gonna base the packet. Again, this is the right side up. You're gonna base the other side of the packet with the bottom edge of your outer panel. So take your project to the machine, sew this side of the pocket close, making sure you are not sewing through the outer fabric. And here align the pocket with the bottom edge of the outer panel and baste those 3 layers together with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and for both you can use 3.5 stitch length. So I have my top pocket edge close and I basted my bottom to the bottom. I left this part unsewn because I still have to insert my zipper pull on, and this is a good reminder to everybody. We probably should do it before we baste the bottom. So I'm gonna insert my zipper pull right now from the bottom to the top. If you don't want to struggle, like probably I will, just insert the zipper pull before you baste the lining to the bottom of your outer panel. All right, actually it wasn't as bad as I thought it will be, but like I said, it's better to insert your zipper pull before you baste the lining to your outer panel. And like I mentioned on the beginning of the video, if you want to make it even easier on yourself, just leave that zipper a little longer, then you have a little end to insert your zipper pull on, and then you can just trim it after your zipper pull is inserted. Now that we have all this step completed, we're gonna finish up our front outer panel by attaching the base of the panel. So I have my vinyl panel. I'm gonna place it right sides together. I'm gonna clip it along the bottom edge. And when I have that done, I'm gonna take my project to the machine and I'm gonna sew along this edge with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, making sure I'm back stitching on the beginning and on the end of my seam. Now that my panel is sewn in, I'm gonna flip it over, finger press the seam. And as you can imagine, now we have to top stitch it in a final position. So you're gonna take it back to the machine and you're gonna top stitch along the seam on the vinyl side of your project with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. After your front panel it's ready to go, we have it all prepped. Now we're gonna work on our back outer panel. So you're gonna take your outer top panel, which is the waterproof canvas, and the vinyl bottom panel, and you're gonna place them right sides together along the bottom edge. Just be careful because it kind of looks square, but it's not. You can tell that the width of the panel it's more than the height, so just make sure you're not gonna get confused. So now we're gonna place the panels together along the bottom edge and clip. When you have that clip, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along this edge with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitching on the beginning and on the end of your seam. Then you're gonna flip your panel over and you're gonna top stitch on the vinyl side of your project, the same way we did it on the front panel. So you're gonna be top stitching with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. So take your project to the machine, sew the panels together, and then top stitch the vinyl panel in the downwards position. Now that we have the panels connected, we're gonna work on attaching our zipper overlay. So I have my zipper overlay. We have to mark the placement of it. So you want to fold your panel in half and finger press it to find the midpoint. Do the same thing with the top. Bring it over to the bottom panel and finger press it in the middle. Now you can mark that point. Don't worry if it's visible, because we're gonna cut out that part of the fabric. Now I'm gonna place some double-sided tape along my overlay. I'm gonna use a ruler to help me position the overlay. So I want the midpoint of my overlay, which I can also temporarily mark by pinching the fabric. I want it to be in the middle mark. So I have my overlay now attached on this side, and I think it's looking pretty straight. I'm gonna take my ruler and check. So I want to make sure that it's looking nice and straight, and it does. So that's good. Here I'm gonna check the sides, and it looks like it's the same distance, so it's perfect. When you have that done, you can now remove the rest of the backing of the tape and secure it all around. When you have your zipper overlay nicely secured to your outer panel, you're gonna take the project to the machine and you're gonna sew along the outside edge of your overlay with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. You can overlap the stitches when they meet, or you can pull them to the back side to finish them up with the lighter. So take your project to the machine and sew along the outer edge to attach the overlay to our outer panel. Now that we have the overlay sewn in, we can cut out the unneeded part of the outer panel. So now we have that ready. The next step is for us to prep the packet. So you're gonna grab your second zipper tape and the two smaller zipper packet linings, and we're gonna make sure that our lining is right sides together. The zipper should be coil side up, and we're gonna align the zipper tape along the edge that it matches the size. Then we're gonna take our smaller panel, we're gonna flip the lining so the zipper tape again is coil side up and align with the edge of the other lining panel. So now we have a packet that looks like this from the right side of the fabric and this way from the wrong side of the fabric. And when you have that done, you're gonna take the project to the machine and you're gonna make sure that the lining is nice and flat, and you're gonna be sewing the one edge of the zipper to one panel of the lining at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then you're gonna flip the project over, make sure that the sewn in lining is pulled away, and you're gonna be attaching the second lining panel along the other edge of the zipper at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that I have my zipper sewn in, I'm gonna insert my zipper pull. So here you wanna, this is how the packet will be. We want the longer lining to be behind, and now you wanna make sure that you are inserting the zipper pull the way you like it. I like the back packet to be closing from the left to the right, so that's how I'm gonna insert it. So then my pull, it's on the right when this packet is closed. So now I'm gonna insert the zipper pull. And now I'm gonna place 2 strips of double-sided tape along the zipper tape edge. I like to have my zipper pull to almost the final position, so when my packet is closed, that's probably where the zipper pull gonna be, so that's how I like it. And now I have my packet nice and open. I want to have the bigger lining panel on the top, and I'm gonna remove the backing of the double-sided tape from the top edge of the zipper. I'm gonna take my outer panel and I'm gonna center the zipper inside of my outer panel, so I want to have an equal overhang on each side. And now I'm gonna concentrate on placing the top edge of the overlay on the zipper tape. When I'm happy with that placement, I'm gonna do the same on the other side. And when I have that done, I'm gonna make sure that my lining stays nice and open, that I have overhang on each side of my zipper opening, so I have a amount to catch my zipper on both sides. And I'm gonna take my project back to the machine, and now I'm gonna sew along the inside zipper opening on the vinyl side of my project with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. You can overlap the stitches, or you can just pull the thread ends to the wrong side of your project and secure them with a nut. So take your project to the machine and sew along the zipper opening with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that we have our lining sewn in, we're gonna place them both sides together and clip along the edges. And when you have that done, you're gonna take the project back to the machine and you're gonna sew the packet all around. You wanna do it from this side so you can keep your panel out of the way, and you're gonna be sewing all around with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that my pocket is completed, now we're gonna put our two outer panels together. So you wanna bring both panels right sides together, and first you wanna align the place where the bottom panels meet. And now we're gonna clip along the bottom edge and the side edges. When you have your whole project clipped like this, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along the side edges and the bottom edge with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, and making sure you are back stitching on the top of your back, which is gonna be the start and end of your seam. So take the project to the machine and sew those two outer panels together, making sure you are aligning in those two places because that's going to be the most visible. Now that our outer panels are connected, and when you sew you just have to make sure that you are including your pocket, because we want this pocket nice and secure to the side of our back. So now that the panels are connected, we're gonna create our box corners, and here you can just make box corners that suits you. Just remember, whatever measurement you're gonna do on the outers, we have to repeat that on the lining. So I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna make the box corners at 1 3/4. I'm obviously measuring from the seam line, not from the edge, so just keep that in mind. Now that I have it marked, I'm gonna cut the corners out. You want to keep one, so then you can just use it as a measurement for the lining if you want to make sure that they're gonna be the same size. All right, so now that we have it cut out, we're gonna create our box corners. I'm gonna pull the seam allowance and rest it against each other. So one seam allowance on the side is folded in one side and the bottom seam allowance is folded in the other side. So now I can just nest them against each other and clip my box corners. On this side, I'm gonna make sure that I'm folding the seam allowance in the same direction. And when I have that done, I'm gonna take my project back to the machine and I'm gonna sew my box corners at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length, making sure I'm back stitching well on the beginning and on the end of each seam. Now that I have my corners box, I'm gonna turn my project right side out. And now I can have a quick preview of my project. I think it's coming along and it's looking really cute. At this point, my outer is completed. Now I'm gonna work on my lining. So we're gonna now place our linings right sides together, and this is really simple lining. We're not gonna add any pockets. If you like to, you can add a zipper pocket, you can add a slip pocket, whatever you like, but I'm just gonna make a simple lining. So I have my lining panels right sides together, and I'm making sure that it's taller than wider. So I want the width to be smaller than the height, because we want to make sure we have the lining correctly. We're not going to sew the wrong edges together. When you have those two placed like this, you're going to clip the side edges and the bottom edge together. On our bottom edge, we're gonna mark an opening for our turning hole. So you wanna make sure that you're gonna have enough bottom sewn for your box corners, but that the opening is left pretty large. And when you have the lining panels prepped like this, you're gonna take them to the machine and you're gonna sew along the edge to the first pin, making sure you're backstitching really well where the pin is, and then from the pin again backstitching up to the top and you're gonna be sewing with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. You can increase the seam allowances a little bit while you're going down, so the lining is less saggy inside of your bag. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sew from the top, increasing my seam allowance to about 1/2 inch. Now that our lining is sewn, we're gonna box our corners. When you have the corners clipped, you're gonna take it to the machine and you're gonna sew along the box corner edges with the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. Now that we have our lining ready to go, we box our corners, we sew our edges, we're gonna take our bag, and here just don't panic, the lining's supposed to be shorter than the outer because we're gonna create a folded edge on the top of our bag, so the lining, it's not gonna show on the top of our bag while we're carrying it. So this is how it's supposed to be. All right, so now I like to sew my bags together with the outer placed inside of my lining. So I want to make sure that my outer is right side out. I'm gonna fold the bottom because my lining is shorter than my outer, and I'm gonna place my outer inside of my lining, and the lining is still wrong side out. Now I'm gonna clip the top edges together, starting with the side seams. When I have the top edges of the lining and outer clipped together, I'm gonna take my project to the machine and I'm gonna sew all around with the 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, connecting my outer and my lining. Now that our top edge is sewn all around, we're gonna pull our outer through our opening in the lining. We're gonna place our lining inside of our bag. But like I said, it's gonna be shorter than our outer. So what's gonna happen, we're gonna have about an inch lip on top of our bag. So you wanna press on the corners, make sure that the corners of the lining are inside of the corners of the outer. And when you have that done, you're just gonna pull and the top should fold straight. So fold your top, make sure it looks nice and straight. If any adjustment needs to be done, do it. You can take the project to the machine and give it a nice press of the top edge so it's nice and straight. And when you have this fold established, so take your project to the machine or first to the ironing board and set the fold in place with iron, and then take it to the machine and top stitch all around with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and 3.5 stitch length. I top stitch my back, and I was a little sneaky because I use a green thread to top stitch on my green fabric and then orange thread to top stitch the rest, in case my top stitching isn't perfect, which almost never is. This will make it less visible. So now that basically we are almost done, the last thing to do for us is to close our lining. So you're gonna pull the lining, pull on the opening, fold the edges, clip, and you're gonna take the project back to the machine and you're gonna sew along this edge with the smallest seam allowance you are comfortable sewing with, somewhere between 1/8 and 1/16 of an inch. Make sure to backstitch on the beginning and on the end of your seam. After my lining is sewn, I'm gonna place it inside of my bag. And now we're gonna work on attaching our handle. So I already punched the holes off screen, so as you can see, just make 2 holes in each. I first made the holes in one end, then I just place them together, mark it so I have the placement, and repeat that with the second handle. Here you wanna figure out what is the distance between your handles. I think that looks about right, so I'm just gonna take my measurements, make sure that everything is aligned, and so I'm gonna find the midpoint, measure what is the distance on this side, and then transfer here and use rivets to attach my handles. And now I'm gonna repeat the process with the rest ends of the handles off screen, and I'll come back with the finished bag. Both of my handles are now attached, and my tote bag is ready to use. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you're gonna give it a try. If you do, grab the pattern, but remember this is a pattern for the Drawstring Backpack that just gives you additional option to create a tote bag as well. So I will link the pattern in the description of this video so you can take a look, and if you are if you want to create this tote bag, you're just gonna be able to do it by following this video. If you want to make yourself a Halloween theme bag like I did, visit my profile on Spoonflower to grab a piece of this fabric. I just got a fat quarter of this ghost and a pumpkin fabric, and it was more than enough to create the bag. I think you can create at least 2, if not 3 with the fabric. I just made sure that my motif is somewhere in the middle of my front pocket. I will also include the link to the Spoonflower fabric profile in the description box below. And don't forget to give the video a like if you enjoyed it, to share it with your friends if you would like them to learn from my videos, and to subscribe to my channel. Till the next time.